All right, we are here with Chris Forster. Chris is a graphic designer on film and television. We most recently worked on the Madden movie this summer together. And when I knew I had, or when me and Noah decided that we wanted to bring guests on the podcast, people that work in the film industry, Chris, I genuinely mean this. You were my first pick. Noah can confirm this. I am so impressed by Chris in the short time that we. I'm really going to flatter you here. In the short time we spent together, I really feel like I learned so much, as well as am just in envy of the skills that he possesses. He's worked on everything from Stranger Things to Weapons that came out this summer, the Tomorrow War, and you did work on Tomorrow War, right? Because we never
I
talked about
did,
it.
yeah, I sure
Tomorrow
did.
War, and much more. So, Chris, thank you so much for doing this.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Um, I guess let's start off with this, right? I know you brought some stuff you're going to share, and we'll show that in a second. But for anyone who isn't in this behind the scenes of filmmaking, what does a graphic designer for film and television do?
Well, the short answer is anything and everything that you see within a shot. A graphic designer basically has to make everything from certificates, posters, giant signs, packaging, flooring, wallpaper. Uh, the craziest and stupidest thing I ever had to make was just a blue rectangle that the grips needed to put over a light switch or something. Like it's there are no bounds. You could make a giant map that gets a close-up shot in a movie and then also be making said blue rectangles. Like there's no limit. There's no limit to what you have to do, and basically you need to produce something that can be printed by a vendor or cut by someone in the mill or and yeah, there's no shortage of things. It's a full-time job. For 10 hours a day, you are busy every single day.
And when you're producing all these different things, right? Do you find it cool that we'll talk about all the different things you worked on, but it's almost like you're learning something new each time. You talk about a map, right? And how for maybe making a map, you have to learn the geography of whatever that location is, right? Versus if we I don't want to talk about Madden because it hasn't come out yet. It's where I'm going to keep referring to, but we can't talk about it. Versus Stranger Things, where you're playing in a make believe world. How does that differ from project to project?
Well, you certainly get some projects that are not interesting and for all intents and purposes are just a job, you know. I worked on a show called Grosse Point Garden Society, which, sorry if you watched it, but it was not my best work. And, well, I won't badger it, but it wasn't something I was invested in to say like to the degree that I was invested in Stranger Things, you know. When you're on a project like that, when you're on a project like Madden or Weapons, and you know something is gonna be good, you it's almost like you go to war, you know, like you're gonna be gone. You check out, you're on a mission, and you're not coming back until it's done. So you really pour your soul into it, and a lot of research is involved. It's very research intensive if you want to make good looking stuff. Like I said, the other jobs I have where I'm not invested as much, I don't take the time to learn anything or do anything. I'm like, okay, they need a poster on the wall. They need this veterinarian sign. Like, boom, here you go. You know, I'm not going to sit there and be like, what would it have looked like? You know, and really give the minutia and the detail and the time uh, that you need to do in order to make something look good. So it does vary from project to project as far as how much you're willing to, you know, go above and beyond.
Chris, when did you know you wanted to do this? Was there a certain movie or show that you saw when you were super young and you were like, you know what? I want to make that's on my screen?
The Shining. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I think I saw The Shining when I was Jesus. It must have. I was a very small child. And the thing I credit my parents the most with, as far as raising us kids, was they pushed movies on us. They pushed, you know, entertainment. Like, hey, that's Harrison Ford. Hey, that's Whoopi Goldberg. Hey, this is Steven Spielberg. Hey, this is so and so. You know, look at that movie. Look at Quentin Jaws. See that blood? That's ketchup. That's how they made that. And I'm there as like a 4-year old, and I'm going, oh, well, I want to do that. But really, The Shining, when Jack is in the fridge, in the freezer, um, it was that Calumet Indian can of like tomatoes or something. And all the graphic design in that movie, that was it. I mean, that was it. So I was a young kid. Um, I will say that first manifested as me like wanting to direct or produce or something. And that's what I went to college for. And I minored in advertising design. Uh, but the goal was always to like be a producer, director, big guy, big shot. Um, I quickly realized that I'm an artist. Like I could be doing this. I could be making these things that I've always focused on when I'm watching my favorite movies. And yeah, it's kind of just a dream come true.
Yeah, I mean, I think relate heavily to everything you just said because I also remember my dad's calling me. I also remember, um, watching The Wizard of Oz. Me and Noah talked about this on a prior episode and being just like fascinated by the fact like someone designs those sets. It's crazy to have that awakening and then see it manifest into something that you actually do for a career. Um, you kind of just started to touch upon, how you got into this. um, there's so many people. I was in this boat just a few years back who are passionate about film and television, passionate maybe about graphic design, but just don't know how to get started. How did you get started? How did you get to the point where you are today? And what advice would you give someone who's an aspiring graphic designer for film?
Amazing. Okay, I'll try to do this in under 5 minutes.
Please,
Uh,
as long as you need, Chris.
yeah. So like I said, I always knew that I wanted to make movies, right? I was always obsessed with movies and Hollywood and all of it. The Oscars were my favorite night of the year. Um, so I think as I got older going through school, I think, when it came down to, hey, you really got to think about your future and what you want to do and, what you're going to be when you grow up. And that kind of escaped for a moment. It kind of was not an option. Well, really, it never was. Um, but then my art teacher at high school, who really is the only person I talk to from high school at this point, and a really good friend of mine, um, she told me about a place called the School of Visual Arts in New York City and how they have all these programs and you could actually become an artist and pursue that as a career. And from there, I started looking about, okay, what other schools can offer this and is this a viable career path? And talked it over with my parents and initially became architecture. And architecture was the way to go. And because I was an illustrator and I would draw, I mean, I have drawings of all the Lord of the Rings when they came out. I just drew the map like 50,000 times. I drew all the little lands. I made up lands. I drew the characters. I drew the hobbits. I drew like Aragorn and like battle scenes. And it was always pencil and graphite. And so I was always an illustrator as like my entire life. And suddenly it became, okay, well, architecture, that's illustration heavy. You can make a living off of that. All the other art careers were kind of like not even an option. You know what I mean? So architecture was it. And then I took a summer class at Virginia Tech. This must have been 2008. And it didn't go well. And I quickly like found out that architecture was more math oriented and more scientific and really no drawing at all. Um, and I said, that's not it. And then that art teacher I was talking about in high school brought me a book of SCAD and all the programs that the school, Savannah College of Art and Design offers. And then I saw film and television was a major. And then it was like a light bulb. That was like, hey, this is something they teach you and you can actually go to school for, like someone goes to school for any other business, doctor, whatever. And that's when I had that conversation with my parents and my art teacher. And SCAD had a summer program called the Rising Star Program. And if you got into this program, you got accepted to the college. And it was for high school students only, rising seniors only. So me and my art teacher went through the process and we're like, you got to do this, Chris. Like you can take a film class, you can take an art class, and you can just be set. You don't even have to apply for school because you also get a scholarship and everything. And like 3,000 applicants, 50 people got chosen, and I got chosen. So went to SCAD, did film and television. Like I said, wanted to be a director, producer, and then graduated. And the school kind of said, good luck, bye. We'll see you. I was like, cool. Wow, where do I go? um, I got an internship at a really cool documentary house in New York City called Fourth Row Films. And it wasn't paid. There was no stipend. There was no nothing. And it offered a really great opportunity as my first thing out of college. So I applied. I wrote this big cover letter saying, you guys seem right up my alley, blah, blah, blah. And they picked me. And I had to move to New Jersey because I couldn't afford Manhattan. Lived in Jersey City. Actually, a really nice place. And took the PATH train into work every day. Back then, the PATH train was not working.
We're
So,
we're New Yorkers, so we know.
okay, so you know all about this.
Yeah.
Right. This would have been 2013. So, like September of 2013. And yeah, they sent me out on the streets of New York City and the boroughs to just do like on the street interviews because I had a little camera, a little DSLR camera. And, the head guy, his name was Doug. He was like, I had this idea about this documentary about scalpers, so go over to the Barclays Center and just fucking shoot these guys, just listen to them. And it was very much so like, just go out there and do it. And I did it. And it would just be like me and like another intern. And I had the most fun there. And the best thing I did there was the National Lampoon documentary, Drunk, Stone, Brilliant, Dead. And I got to go like and sit and record on an audio thing 2 hours of one of these writers or illustrators who did these magazines, their whole life story, and then like transcribe it and then go through. We bought every single issue, every single National Lampoon magazine ever created. We found them and we had them all in the office with us. And my job was to go through these magazines and find the coolest fucking things and then give them to the editor. And like, that's what made it into the documentary. And that's really where like everything started. And I got super lucky that certain events took place, even though they were really dramatic, and I won't go into them, that brought me down here to Atlanta. And it was a disaster disguised as a blessing, because someone I went to school with who graduated before me called me up and said, "Hey, Chris, are you still living in Atlanta?" And at that point, I literally was about to go move in with my parents and say, my dreams are over. I'm nothing. I didn't make it. I got to go back to school. Damn. And this guy calls me, and I said, "Yeah, I'm still here." He goes, "Well, I'm down here shooting Ang Lee's new movie. Why don't you come in for an interview?" This guy, who I went to college with, is Ang Lee's personal assistant at this point. And that movie was Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk in 2015. I was 24, on the verge of total collapse and realignment. But this guy, Jesse Cook is his name. I hope he doesn't mind that I shouted him out. But he saved me and he launched my career, because I haven't had a day off really since then, except for here and there and the strikes and whatever. But I have been working nonstop since that point. And I spent the first 2.5 years doing production, because, like I said, I wanted to be director producer. So I was everything from an office PA to a travel coordinator to a set PA to a director's assistant, producer's assistant, and quickly found out that's not it's not what I want to do, because I have this art background. So I started over again after 2.5 years of climbing that ladder. I was like, I'm going to go back to being a PA because I want to be in the art department. So I called everyone that I've ever been on a movie with who was in art department, and I said, "I'm making this change. If you got anything for me, I'll do it. Anything. I'll pick up rat shit." And they're like, "Okay." Someone called me right away after I sent an email to her and was like, "I think I've got something for you. It's only 4 days, but let me call you right back." I'm like, "Okay." She calls me right back. She says, "Okay, I got you for 4 days." I'm like, "Great. What's the project?" She's like, "Well, it's a period show, and we have a lot of packaging and a grocery store, and we have to like stock the shelves with old Pop-Tart boxes and old cereal boxes, and basically we're printing them out and someone has to make these boxes." And I go, "Okay, cool. I can do that. What's the show?" She said, "Well, it's kind of hush hush, but it's about kids in the 80s. I go, "Uh-huh, uh-huh." "Oh, I see." And that was Stranger Things 2. So that was my first job in the art department as a set deck PA, and my job was to just cut out these boxes and hot glue them together. I don't have fingerprints anymore because of that. Um, and I literally sat there in the middle of this bullpen cutting out these prints that the graphic designer was making and making them into a box and stacking these boxes on this little folding table. And at the end of the day, there was a mountain of boxes, and then they would take them and put them on the set. And 4 days turned to a week, which turned into a month, which turned into 2 months, which turned into the rest of the show. And then I came back for season 3, was supposed to be graphic designer. They kept me as the PA, but at that point I was like the highest paid PA probably in the city. Anyway, they still exploited me because I was still doing graphic design. And season 3 was what it was, that mall. Don't you believe it? I mean, you better believe it, excuse me. That was me. All the packaging you saw in any storefront anywhere, I fucking made it. So then season 4 came, and they finally graduated me to graphic designer. First job as a graphic designer was before Stranger Things 4, in between season 3 and season 4, and that was Fear Street. There's 3 movies there. I didn't do the second one, but I did 1 and 3. That was my first job as a graphic designer. And I didn't join the union at that point. They were going to pay me as a graphic designer, but then accounting said, "Oh, we can't have you on paper as a graphic designer. You have to write production assistant, but we'll still pay you." And I'm like, "Why is that?" They're like, "Because you're not in the union." I was like, "Okay, well, BRB." And I drove down to the union hall and I gave them $1,600 and I joined the union and I got to be on that show as a graphic designer. That was my first time. That was 2019. So since 2019, I have actively been credited and doing the work for because let's be honest, you don't always get both. Uh, as a graphic designer.
Chris, that was a lot. That was awesome. I
There's a lot.
especially love the part of Stranger Things, as I'm sure Ryan did, and we're going to delve into your Stranger Things work in a bit.
Okay.
My question for you is, what's your favorite graphic you've ever made?
God. Probably something that never saw camera.
That's how it goes.
Um, man.
You know what? It's okay. If you can't think of anything, if you can't
What?
deliberate,
The best thing my favorite graphic I ever made, I can't tell you about because it's on the movie Madden and it's not out yet. But out of things that I have made that have come out, I would say the ransom note from Stranger Things 4.
wow,
Can
that's
you
so
see for a
cool.
second?
I mean, I'm planning to show it to you.
Cool.
Let's do it. Let's do it right now. Let's do it.
Okay.
But Chris, I think I know the graphic you're talking about. If it's what I think it is, and yeah.
Oh,
So
well, it's brilliant. I
there,
mean, and I'll explain everything that I did for it because yeah. Okay, so do we want to start the screen share?
Yeah, if you want to share your screen.
So I guess I'll just take you through Stranger Things 4 because the ransom note is in here and yeah. This is a quick little drawing I made for the show. It never got used anywhere. I just doodled it because it's like a cathartic thing. That's me being crucified on the pentagram there as a skeleton. There were banners that were double-sided that never got made. I had to make 70,000 boxes, the uh-ohs, cereal, the gun boxes, the videotapes, the can of soup. Anyway, moving on. I made all the newspapers in the show. I know these are not very high res, but there it is. It's loading. Hawkins Post, all these things. Amazing thing about Stranger Things is you get to use like real photographs. You know what I mean? Like of Reagan and Jimmy Carter. And a lot of times you get to use like real brands. But other times you don't. So you have to draw your own things and like these little ads you see on the side. I had to come up with all those. I had to make all those. They're all fake. But then there you go. You see like House, a great movie. Hid that in there. That's my grandfather where it says the Chronicle. I use a photo of my family. You know, I get to throw in like little things. More newspapers. Packaging. You have to recreate all this period packaging. And this is where the research really comes in. You have to delve through eBay and archives and just do a Frankenstein monster, really, of what this thing would have looked like if it was fresh in 1986. So, again, here we go. More of it. Probably no one remembers Roy Rogers, but amazing period company. All of these things are period correct. And I did the research to make sure that in 1986, this is what we would have saw. Boom. This is all fake. So here you go. You got some Russian wine. Made all that up. Schlitz is real. But the little deer, don't ask me what it says. I forget. And Ramones, those are all fake. So Schlitz is a real thing. That's a recreation. But
now,
the
now,
Russian
Chris,
stuff. Sorry?
I'm just gonna butt in for half a second to explain
Yeah.
something to Noah for anyone who doesn't work in film. Is that oftentimes things can't get cleared to be shown on TV. So you can't use a wine label that is not legally allowed to use because in this case Netflix gets sued. I just think that's an important clarification because that that is the main reason why Chris would have to redesign almost all these things.
Amen. And thank you for bringing that up because, yeah, I just don't even think to. I assume everyone knows what I
It's
go
such a
through.
huge part of your job is seeing what can
You're
get
absolutely right.
weird.
You're
Why did
absolutely
you
right.
start recording, Noah?
Yeah. So stuff. Like I said, if you remember the video store, every single VHS box that's on the shelf, I made like by hand and printed out and photoshopped and made like the real package of. So it was pretty incredible. At one point, we hired some extra people to come in to help cut things out and hot glue together. But you'd be surprised how many people just can't do that. And it it certainly felt like the world was on my shoulder here because like even if I asked for help, they couldn't help me because they were not able to cut or glue, and the box looked like it was messed up. So it was tough, man. And it was, that's why my nickname, Ryan, from Madden is Man in the Box. It started with this because I was the only person that could make a box.
Hey, I wasn't going to say this before, but who was the one this time helping? I don't know if it's a spoiler that there's boxes in Madden, but who was the one that was helping you this time fold the box?
That would have been you, Ryan.
I was the one this time in the bullpen folding the box.
That's right.
You,
So you're following in my footsteps. Look at you go.
Are we allowed to say there's boxes in Madden?
The boxes in Madden are going to look really good
Yeah.
because Ryan cut them out.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, obviously you said you had to get everything approved. Or in terms of you have to look everything up to make sure it was in 1986. Is there a supervisor who's above you who's double checking, or is it kind of your call where it's like, all right, there's so much trust in you to look everything up and make sure every single little detail is from 86?
It was left to me.
Wow.
It was left to me. Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. Absolutely no pressure at all. Occasionally somebody would catch something and be like, well, I saw this reference and it doesn't quite look right. And then, oh yeah, you're right. But I was the one making these files. I was the one hitting print or telling someone to hit print. And yeah,
That's
great
so cool.
length went through to achieve accuracy.
What are the big takeaways from working on a show like Stranger Things? Obviously, you're working on other things. You worked on Weapons this summer. You worked on Madden, which is going to come out shortly. But from Stranger Things specifically, that Ryan and I are obviously obsessed with, what are the big takeaways from working on that show for a few years?
It sort of sets the bar for how hard you have to go, if that makes any sense. Like right now, I don't know if I would ever push the pedal all the way to the metal like I did on that show. So really everything after has been kind of easy. I mean, I don't want to say easy, but there will never be anything like the monster that was Stranger Things. I mean, it consumed you. You were method. I was method graphic designing. I mean, I lived and breathed it. And it was unique because during season 4, the pandemic happened. And we all started working from home. And Netflix was great and paid us for like those 6 months that everybody was not working. But we came back in like August or September of that year. And I worked from home for the remainder of that season. And it was like almost 2 years total. And in 2022, that was the end. And at one point I was working on 2 other shows at the same time that I was working on Stranger Things 4. All from right here in my condo. And it was a lot, and I think I learned that I don't ever really have to give 100% of my existence to a show again. I just don't.
So some might say it turned your life upside down.
Yes, 100%. I felt like I was in the upside down, especially because at some point everyone went back to the office with like the COVID guidelines and all that, but they kept me and the other graphic designer who was in Los Angeles, obviously at home. So like everyone was back together, but I had to stay home. And I felt like I was just, out there because people forgot about you. No one was used to working from home like this at this point. This was all new for everybody. So there were times where, yeah, I felt like I was Jack Nicholson and like going through cabin fever. And like I'm sitting there at 2 a.m. drawing these, you know, drawings that Max, I think I got them in here somewhere. You remember the crayon drawings that Max made? We can go back to this stuff, but let me find these. Oh, I saw that. Hold on. These. I'm sitting there at 2 a.m. making these with crayons, and you say to yourself, okay, it's time to go to bed. Like, this is crazy. Like, you're going nuts here. Like, this is a job. You're not lost in the upside down. You're not, this is not actually you. So it was, the lines got blurred in that time, and it was scary. And basically, I learned, to set boundaries in my professional life and never put myself through that again, because there were days where I wasn't eating because I was just doing this like 24 hours a day, like going crazy. So, yeah, it was very valuable life lesson, and I'm very thankful I went through it, but I would never want to go through that again.
Do you have the ransom note in here?
Oh yeah, let's go back to that. I'm gonna go fast because I'll show you this. Oh, ooh, ooh, ooh. There it is. On the right.
Nice.
Let's see if I can move it in. Yeah.
So good.
Okay. All of this, all these letters, I found in physical Soviet literature from the time or before the time. And I cut them out myself. So they're all the actual size. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but all of these little numbers were cutouts. And I put them on this thing. And obviously, Hop is alive. He looks forward to date. Please to make reservation call, blah, blah, blah. Open 12-day pet. No gov, please. That was in the script. So in the script, it says this. And it was up to me to interpret that and to think about how this would be. And I go back to that method graphic design. You have no choice in a situation like this but to put yourself in the shoes of Yuri, in this case, the character Yuri, and think, how would Yuri do this? So, yeah, I did it, and it was a one-hit wonder, and it made it all the way to the screen, and that's my favorite thing I've ever done.
You're acting in a way, which is sick. You're Yuri. You're trying to be Yuri, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, in a way, you have to, again, there are some graphic designers out there who never read a script. And I can't fathom that. Even on the jobs where it's just a job, like I can't do my job if I don't know who the characters are, if I don't know what's going on, if I don't have context, what's the point? Just use Canva or Midjourney, like nobody cares. So you have to really, this is the kind of thing where I would only make it if I cared as much as I did.
And Chris,
And I really,
I truly believe that it comes through because people were taking that and diving into every little detail of the letters and things, and
Mhm.
that's what's so cool about this when you find a franchise like this that you're able to work on and a project you're so passionate about because I really think I'm confident it shows through and has improved the quality of the show significantly. So
Thank you. And, shameless plug, but season 4 will go down in history as the best season of the show. And I'm not going to say it was because of me, but
It wasn't not because of you.
that's right. Right. I'm the factor there. I'm the one that, in all of the seasons, season 4, I was the graphic designer. So that's all I'm saying.
Did you get credit from the Duffer Brothers? Like, did the Duffer Brothers give you recognition for whether it's the ransom note, whether it's anything you did?
I heard through the grapevine, but they didn't come up to me personally and be like, "Yo, Chris,"
Still cool.
But I heard through the grapevine many times that they were very pleased with all of the stuff.
It's pretty cool.
that's awesome, Chris. Hey, Chris, I really don't want to keep you too long. Is there anything else super valuable you think you want to show?
Yeah, I can show you some of the stuff I did for weapons.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I
Oh,
I I love weapons, Chris.
great. Um, okay, well, leaping off of Stranger Things. So at the end, the hair department wanted me to make a shirt, and all they told me is it had to say Tammy's Teas and Please Beauty Parlor. So I was like, okay, I got you. Don't worry. I started drawing Tammy. This is an original sketch of Tammy. She's got a little hair dryer, comb. Oops, I went backwards. Or maybe not. It's going all over the place. Anyway, well, this is weapons. This is the banner I made.
Wait, it's still showing Tammy for me.
It is.
I see Maybrook. I saw Maybrook.
Oh, okay.
Now I see Tammy.
Tammy's
Wait,
back.
Now I see Maybrook.
Sorry, guys. I thought I had this in order, but it's probably going to jump around.
You're good.
So this is the banner. I think you all recognize this thing. This was referenced from the banner used at Sandy Hook. And the production designer, Tom Hannock, who's the best in the business, look him up. He gave me a folder essentially saying, "Hey, Chris, look at all of these reference photos. They're from all the big shootings. And this is how I want this school to be." So I had to look at reference photos from Sandy Hook, Parkland, Uvalde, you name it. It was not easy. And at that time, he told me this movie is a metaphor for a school shooting. So we wanted to incorporate subtle, very visceral reference to those kinds of situations. And that's where this banner came from. Again, when you read it in the script, it says a banner displayed says Maybrook Strong. What it looked like is totally up for interpretation. And you see everyone's little name. I had to draw everyone's little name on there. Everything is hand done. And yeah, the rest is history. That little heart kite in between Maybrook and Strong, that's the one thing that I like directly copied kind of from the Sandy Hook. And if you notice, there's 12 little hearts, or 17, I forget the number. But 12 little hearts there for each of the kids that went missing. So I always try to incorporate that as far as like, these points from the story that need to be shown. And it's the subtlety when you see 12 or when you count how many things of that. That's something I did as a kid. I would always look at the background and the production design and the graphic design and be like, okay, there's 7 of those things. What does that mean? This is my favorite. This is in the hallway at the school. And because my boss told me that this movie is about essentially a metaphor for school shooting, I was like, well, Jeremy by Pearl Jam is a song about a school shooting. And that's like one of my favorite songs. So I drew the song Jeremy. I think the lyric is, at home, drawing pictures, of mountaintops with him on top, lemon yellow sun, arms raised in the dead lake in pools of blood or whatever. So there it is. Those are all the little kids that got killed. And there's Jeremy up on top with the J. So that's a subtle reference. You can see it in the movie, but only if you're really looking for it. It's on the side of the wall when Justine's going through like the little dream sequence. You saw this. This was in the police station. Again, so good. I'm sorry to brag, but what happens? What's the movie about? All right, kids are gone. They're on a night out. There is a thing in this country that police departments do called National Night Out. So how great would it be to feature a poster that says National Night Out in the background when we're talking about all these kids that are missing? It's just, that's the kind of stuff that adds to it, right? This is my second favorite graphic I've ever made. Did not make it in the movie, but I drew this by hand, and this was supposed to be in Justine's room. We never went into Justine's room. There's a long shot of her walking into her room, and they never got the reverse or a shot inside of that bedroom. So sad day. But there's my signature, and I made it old, so I put 1980 as the year. But I try to hide this little skull in almost everything I do. It started with Stranger Things, and I'll give it away. If you see it in Madden, I put it in Madden. So you might see it in Madden. But original drawing, amazing work. I want to make a t-shirt about this, but maybe that's later. Here's another thing you saw at the school. This is a direct rip from Sandy Hook. That same congrats. I basically just copied it. Like to a T. All I had was a shitty little pixelated photo of an evidence photo, and it was on the wall. And I was like, oop, that's going in the movie. Oh, now we're back to Tammy. So here's the shirt I made. Here's the shirt I made for the hair department. This is on the back. I drew that little hair dryer. Stranger Things 4, hair department, blah, blah, blah. And there's the final product. There it is. And I have that sweatshirt. Ryan, I think you may have seen me wear it at some point.
I've definitely seen you wear that one.
Yes.
I've seen that one.
Oh, and there's the other one. So that would have been the other version. They didn't want that one. They wanted this one. But both are pretty cool. Both get the message. Oh, see, there's a sketch of her. I went off the page. I had to tape paper together because I drew too big. But there she is, man. She's fine, isn't she?
She sure is.
And there it is. So that's me.
Pretty awesome. That's so cool that you've had all those experiences. I mean, Ryan obviously knows more about the industry than me. Him being set designer, being in the industry and everything like that. To hear, like, as someone who's a huge Stranger Things fan, to see that you are quite literally behind some of the shots I've seen, some of the background images I've seen when I've rewatched this show for a fourth time. I'm currently on my fourth rewatch. It's so cool, man. And it was a pleasure meeting you. And I know Ryan has talked about you for so long. He was so excited to get you on. As he said, you're number one overall pick for our first guest of the pod. Such a pleasure, man.
Thank you so much. I had such a great time. Thank you.
And not to toot your horn anymore, but well, first of all, I was excited for that interaction between you two because I knew Noah would think everything was so cool, and I also knew Chris is the type of person who would enjoy that Noah thought. We were like, it's nothing, but I knew Chris because he's like us, Noah. He's a fan. Like me and Chris would talk for hours about content and stories and experiences and dreams and aspirations, and every time I leave a conversation with you, Chris, including this one, I just feel more motivated and passionate about what I do, and I just want to thank you. And we have to see each other in person very soon. We will add that to the calendar.
Let's do it. Thank you. Likewise.
Thanks,
You're the
Chris.
best. And it's not every day you see someone who's so invested, so thank you.
Of course, of course.